Visual novels are a medium I've completely immersed myself in over the past 3 to 4 years now. Ever since my introduction, I knew that this was a world I wanted to explore more of. What corners are there to be seen? What peaks have I yet to reach? Even after all this time, there's still something magical about opening up a new one for the first time. How will this one fare? Will the arduous base elevate me higher than the last? Not 1 ounce of love has left me from the time I stepped foot into this world, and it's debatable that coming to see what the structure can bring has made me come to appreciate it even more. So continuing with tradition, for the 3rd year now, here are my top 10 visual novels as of 2022. And even though it has been close to 4 years, I wish I could say I've read more in that time. But considering the exorbitant length of a few of these and my own schedule, it's only natural. The list is small enough that I could fit every visual novel I've read by including a few in the honorable mentions. So I guess it's more akin to a ranking than what would be implied of a top 10. But regardless, let's begin. Doki Doki Literature Club is technically the first visual novel I made it through, but at the time I wasn't familiar with the term. I remember enjoying it upon my first read, but retrospectively, I don't think I would enjoy it nearly as much if I read it once again. The fan disc to Tsukihime Kaketsu Toya is one I never actually finished. Plagued by a mess of a progression system and my refusal to use a flowchart, I could not enjoy the game to its fullest. The odd translation and lackluster plot didn't help pique my interest either, although there were a few side stories that I loved about it. The other two, Steins Gate Zero and Katawa Shoujo, were great experiences, but I couldn't connect with them as much as I wanted to, or it felt there to be too many rough patches to make it in. Number 10. Song of Saya. Awakening from a coma, Fuminori Sakisaka had found himself in a world slathered with gore. With every turn of his head, what looks to be entrails are thrown on the floor. Amalgamations of loose appendages and bubbles of pus roam the earth. For him, life is as close to hell as it can get. That was until he met Saya, the only normal in this bizarre world. You follow Fuminori failing to maintain his previous life, as he can no longer perceive any person, place, or thing as it once was. This is torture he has to withstand day after day, driving him to madness and wanting to find any form of happiness, thus cutting ties with old and becoming dependent on the single shard of normalcy. Fuminori's personal journey alongside Saya is a thrilling non-stop ride that immediately pulled me in and carried me through with no breaks. But what I found to be truly unique was how it plays around with morality and perception, leaving it up to the reader to determine who they find to be in the right. Number 9. Aokana. Masaya Hinata, a former prodigy of the sport flying circus, came to loathe it at a young age. But through meeting the buoyant Kurashina Asuka and becoming a coach for his school's FC club, his passion for the sport reignited. From the art, OST, characters, and depth of the story's central sport, I was pleasantly surprised to see it all come together well. What I thought to be the highlight was the dynamic between the main group, bringing in a bundle of laughter and enjoyment, getting to see their conversation seamlessly bounce around topic to topic, person to person. I found all the characters to be extremely likable with a nice touch of development of each heroine through their own route. All the while, bits and pieces of Masaya's past and struggles get worked through differently depending on his partner. Despite myself being the farthest away from a sports person, the complexity of fighting circus had gotten me invested into the countless matches played throughout. It was through that investment to both the sport and the contestants that gave me a feeling reminiscent of when I was a bit younger watching the climactic battles of shonen anime. It struck that chord of excitement in my heart, releasing silent cheers for victory. Number 8. 428 Shibuya Scramble. The bustling streets of modern-day Shibuya, while allowing its residents to get to and from, the chaos and undefinable nature of the scramble may be prone to unknown figures lurking within. The case of a kidnapped girl being held for ransom is staged in such an environment. And while seeming standard, the more information gathered tells the severity of a once thought simple case. This line of events ties the fates of 5 both related and unrelated people, who each drastically influence one another's objectives in even the subtlest ways. The story simultaneously follows a detective, former leader of a gang, journalist, amnesiac, and the father of the kidnapped girl, with each branch filled with choices and stops, leaving it to the player to find the correct path for each character in order to reach the true ending. So far, this has been the only visual novel that uses real-life people and locations for the visual aspect that I've seen. Its abundance of unique shots with simple yet effective effects give it a cinematic feeling. It's a brilliant layout that, while having its flaws, fleshes out both the plot and characters in a way that is fair for all. I became engrossed in each protagonist's story, getting to see their own past, outlook, and dreams. Out of these 5, I found Kenji Osawa to be the one I especially felt for. A father completely immersed in his interests that he became out of touch with his own humanity and emotions. Every character here has a deep story that all helps weave one cohesive and expansive narrative. During my playthrough, I did find the continuous storyline swaps to be an annoyance, especially when I was invested into one particular character's plotline, although, looking back, I wouldn't have it any other way. Number 7. Steins Gate. Okabe Rintaro and his group one day discover an unconventional means of time travel, and through repeated use, starts to face the consequences of their actions. It's a thrilling tale, propping itself up off an entertaining character dynamic, alongside many scientific studies and principles to ground its sci-fi premise. While a slow burner, which I found that the character interactions more than made up for, once that turning point hit, it threw me for a non-stop loop of repeated events to find an outcome that might not even happen. Seen through the eyes of Okabe, he had easily become one of, if not my favorite character. As he develops and shines more light upon his past, it recontextualizes all of his past actions. Not to mention the loneliness he feels in the current moment, being the only one to retain his memories of the future. The need to vent, to talk with someone is all he needs most, but fears of the worry it will bring. The characters, their journey, and the integral role they play to finding a perfect world makes an unforgettable experience. Number 6. Tsukihime. The ever-present gritty atmosphere follows Tonoshiki no matter the path he goes down. With the constant reminder of death embedded in his eyes, he is tied to the world of the supernatural. Whether it's fighting vampires or discovering his family's history, the looming insanity will eventually catch up to him. Tsukihime is a gothic modern fantasy, whose main appeal is difficult to describe in a few sentences. It's a story about coming to terms with the transience of life, while telling how beautiful the happiness is to those who find it within that short time frame, with each route constantly building upon this theme, making the result of watching Tono's despair-ridden situation almost uplifting by the end with a hint of bittersweet. And that is mostly to do with the many well-written heroines that form a symbiotic relationship with Shiki. You see how both of their philosophies intermingle to come out with a better standing of each other, allowing both sides of that bond to better themselves. It does cover and show taboo and uncomfortable subjects, but by the end of it, comes out feeling meaningful. It's a beautiful story, and while the original has many flaws deriving from slightly amateurish writing and the underwhelming visuals, it's an experience that has remained in the hearts of many for years to come. That is why I'm excited for the remake's translation by Tsukihime's. Not only is it visually stunning, the writing is substantially more polished, fixing a lot of what the original fell short on. Those uncomfortable subjects are toned down or introduced with less apparent seams. Transitions, monologue, and prose flow like a river. So far, I've only read through Arcwade's route using machine translation, bringing many questionable, albeit entertaining lines. But even with the sometimes incomprehensible text, It has put both the author Kinoko Nasu and artist Takechi Takeuchi's growth on full display. This is probably the first of 2 times that I can say a visual novel can reach the climactic feeling of a cinematic film. And so I await in anticipation for the release of an English patch, so I can reread Arcoade's route, and finally start Ciel's, which I have heard is even more incredible. Number 5. Umineko no Naku Koro ni. The noble family of Ushiromiya holds an annual conference discussing the matters of inheritance on their private island. But during the night of the family's arrival, sporadic murders occur, all in the name of the island's rumored witch, Beatrice. Was this committed by the powers of the supernatural, or was it all carried out by human hands? Being one of the last alive, and the only one who rejects the existence of such a being, Ushiromiya Battler vehemently denies Beatrice, taking it upon himself to find the true culprit of the murders. It blurs the lines between fiction and reality, forming a connection between author and reader. I was unsure where exactly to place it as I have yet to finish. At the moment, I'm currently midway through chapter 8, and if it keeps up with its quality and doesn't tank in this final chapter, it will be the number 1. With what I've read so far, it has spoken to my soul, sparking inspiration. I have so much I could say, but I don't want to speak too much just yet, as I want to save them for a dedicated Umineko video. Number 4. Planetarian, Reverie of a Little Planet. When the day ends, look to the sky, and above is a constant reminder of the places humanity has yet to reach. Each glint that sparkles in the night sky holds humanity's hopes for the future. However, that simple, everyday sight is no more. With the world that has fallen into nuclear winter, the Junker struggles to simply live even a second longer. Scavenging for survival is all he has come to know. And it is when he stumbles upon a vacant planetarium, he mingles with the simplest joys most of us have taken for granted. Hoshino Yumemi, a robot staff member, is a bundle of joy who holds endless optimism. It's through her and the showing of the stars that gives Junker a new direction to take. The emotions I felt towards this piece spawned in such little time. I grew attached to the radiance Yumemi gave off. That, in contrast to the Junker's deadly serious demeanor and reliance on instincts, allowed his dark character to absorb some light. It is a simple, short, yet massively impactful tale that leaves the reader with a tinge of sadness, while telling the everlasting hope that exists for everyone. Number 3. Fate Hollow Ataraxia. 6 months after the events of Fate's Day Night, the Fifth Holy Grail War has started once again. However, things are different. Upon nightfall, unknown participants clash, yet when the sun rises, things are as they were, with the members of the original Fifth Grail War living day-to-day life happily. Yet, every 4 days, that time loops back, leaving the Master of Night, Bazet Fraga Mikremitz, and the Master of Day, Emiya Shiro, the only 2 conscientious of these bizarre circumstances. From the premise, it seems like a simple way to say farewell to the cast of Fate's Day Night, with its story split in 2, one side focusing on the mystery behind this abnormal turn of events, while the other focused on the characters enjoying day-to-day life, with both of these sides woven together to form a compelling and coherent narrative. Compared to Nasu's previous fan disc, the aforementioned Kagetsu Toya, Hollow Ataraxia is a step up across the board, by streamlining the progression and putting significantly more effort into the main story. With the exploration of its mystery, filling in a few holes from Stay Night, and the depth to the characters, I genuinely feel that this is one of the more underappreciated pieces by Nasu. The newly introduced main duo, Bazet and Angra Mainyu, have an economy that plays well in terms of the respective backstory and personalities. The contrast between them causes strife, but it's through that they learn, giving one another a sense of purpose. It has been almost 3 years since I last read it, so even though I've lost my reasoning for them, my emotions towards this paradise remain intact. If you are a fan of Fate, please give this a chance. Number 2. Higurashi no Naku Koroni. The Curse of Oyashiro-sama. A tragedy bestowed to the villagers of Hinamizawa in the occurrence of discourtesy towards the guardian deity. Such behavior must have happened in the years of 1978 to 1983, as every year, on the night of a village tradition, one person at random dies, and another vanishes. Enter Keiichi Maebara, who upon becoming well accustomed to the village and making friends, after that night of the cotton drifting festival, the behavior of those close to him become strange. What caused this shift? Who or what is the culprit of the past murders? Is it truly the work of a supernatural being? Or is it a group carrying out such happenings in the name of Oyashiro? What I had stepped into was nothing like I had expected. Terror, fear, confusion. The abnormalities that seemed to spur out of nowhere put me in binds, putting me in a zombie-like state where I sat there pressing the key to ingest every line of text for hours on end. The thrill of the question arcs pulled me in, only to mold my enjoyment into a new form of appreciation, as the previous events became completely recontextualized, to the point where all that confusion was dispelled. Every answer given added to my admiration for the mystery, with each thread finding its spot to create a bridge from perplexity to discernment. It was a great mystery, but that would only be the foundation to what I find to be truly special. Ryukishi has a way of writing characters that, while are eccentric in how they convey their emotions, that display is not an exaggeration. Every drop of emotion leaks through their words, leaving none left to themselves, letting it seem all the more sincere. That stream has reached me many times over, whether they find themselves in the deepest trenches of despair or the happiest times of their lives. It all shows through. It became contagious as I came to love and respect them all. It may not be shown through a way we have come to expect, but their feelings are in the truest sense, pure. Higurashi's many themes are some that I connected to or reinforced many of my personal beliefs, while touching upon subjects I genuinely care about. It all perfectly seemed to align with who I am, speaking to my core. From the mystery, characters, themes, drama, to many intricate details, it's a work I wish I could experience again for the first time. In my heart, these top 2 are equal. It was difficult, but I feel it's only fair to give it to the one that has retained its sturdy image in my mind over all these years. My first visual novel, and what has made me appreciate this wonderful medium. Number 1. Fate Stay Night. What makes a hero? What is under the surface of heroic ideologies, and in what way does it affect the relationships they are a part of? Miyashiro is a novice in the world of magecraft, who one day is suddenly thrusted into a battle of mages for an omnipotent wish-granting device known as the Holy Grail. Shiro, alongside his newly summoned servant, Saber, takes part in this ritual for his own noble agenda. What follows is a grand tale focusing on Hiro's philosophy, with each of the 3 routes taking a look at his idealism from another perspective, showing the extent Shiro will go to fulfill his lifelong aspirations. It isn't just Shiro taking the spotlight, but the entire cast is attributed with deep and varied characters. Their own story, motivations, and ideologies are just as vital to the main plotline, whether it was their own internal conflict or facing the despair of circumstance. I came to care and attach to mostly everyone. Kotomine Kide, Ilya von Einsburn, and Mato Sakura shared stories I could relate to on one level or another, or hold a unique outlook on life. Just choosing these top 3 characters feels like a disservice to the others for not mentioning them, as nearly each and every character's struggles results in a thought-provoking arc. The stories of all interconnect to this one moment in time that, while only lasts a few weeks, has a scale as if this conflict has been going on for centuries. However, it's not just the characters who are given such care, as this urban fantasy-styled world is just as interesting. Every corner of this story is packed with details relating to the world of mages, the uses and variety of magic itself, and how that all plays into the centerpiece that is the Holy Grail War, showcasing the many factions within the world of mages and the intricacies surrounding them. The sheer depth of the world, the interconnectedness of the characters, and their ties to said world give Fate Stay Night a nature similar to an epic, weaving a multi-layered narrative with all threads intercepting at one point or another. The premise, world, storyline, characters, and art culminates in a piece that I can gaze at, and with certainty, announce a masterpiece status. When I think of it, I look back fondly, with not one speck of dislike. What others think to be flaws, I find those points to have enhanced my own experience. I quite enjoyed the slice-of-life scenes and didn't find the abundance of exposition dumps to wear down my experience. In fact, I didn't mind it at all considering the topics discussed had enough depth and attention to be interesting. Maybe I'm looking through a filter, fanboying away the negatives, but even so, I can say my feelings towards this are undeniable. It was the piece that opened my eyes as to what enjoyment I find in media, letting me get a grasp on how to dissect and point out what I truly love in a story, which gave me the push to start this channel in the first place. It's only been a short 3.5 years, yet going back to record B-roll and seeing the gallery of CGs once again, I am filled with nostalgia and a yearning to re-experience this once again. I say all that and still haven't made a video talking about it individually. Hopefully at some point I'm confident enough to articulate my thoughts in a way where I can truly convey what I find so special about Fate Stay Night. Not one bit do I regret the countless hours I've spent in worlds far from my own. Days, months, years pass, yet every single one I have read remains engraved in my head. I don't think it's just a simple pastime, but I believe I have come to better understand myself through the stories shared by these great writers. These all have a moderate to tremendous impact on me, and to think that this is only 14 entries of a whole format of storytelling. I have much more to experience and I'm excited to do so. I'm interested to see what this list will look like in another 3 years. If you are interested in hearing my more in-depth thoughts, I do have videos for most of these entries, and I will continue to make more as I come across stories that stick with me. In between recording and editing up this video, I finished Umineko, and to stay true, I kept its spot as it originally was. To hear my thoughts, please stay tuned for my future video on it. I hope you all enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Later.